Ordinary People Sports is back. Got two members of the OPS crew, Brandon, Sam here. Um, just some bombshell news, breaking news. Bill O'Brien, affectionately known as Bob, has been fired by the Houston Texans. He was also acting general manager as well. Those duties are being relinquished as well. Romeo Crennel is taking over as the interim head coach. Going back to our week 4 matchup picks, I said that this could happen. And I think that this was needed. This was needed. So I'll let Sam kind of chime in. What do you think about the move to fire Bill O'Brien?
I think that Bill O'Brien, they gave him too much power. He really should have been fired during the offseason. And I think he signed a lot of bad contracts. Giving Brandon Cooks a 5-year, $81 million deal, he's not a top 5 wide receiver in this game. Um, Giving David Johnson a 3-year, $39 million deal for someone that's not very lethal, good, but not lethal. I'm not giving a running back $13 million unless you're a top 2, top 3 running back in the game. So whoever comes
Agreed. Agreed.
afterwards have to do several things. You have to allow Deshaun Watson to run the ball more, and they gotta get out of these bad contracts. So we'll see what happens.
Well said. Well said. I definitely agree. I feel like as a coach, he wasn't very good, and I feel like, to be truthfully honest, Deshaun Watson has regressed over his last 4 years in the league. I feel like he came in as a rookie and he was outstanding. He was dynamic. I think Dabo called him the Jordan of college football. And if you remember his rookie season before he tore his ACL, he was putting up video game numbers. And it seems like with Bill O'Brien as his head coach and in that system, he's constantly regressed and not really gotten better. And I agree with you. He does need to run more, use more of the run pass option that we see Lamar and Kyler and even Russ and Patrick Mahomes using. Because in my mind, Deshaun Watson is a top 5, top 3 talent at QB, but he does need a better coaching system. I think a guy like Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs could be a great fit there. With the work he's done with Patrick Mahomes and the knowledge he's gotten from Andy Reid, I think it could be a great fit. But the other piece is just horrible GM moves. Sam, you mentioned a couple of them. I'm gonna mention some more. Um, Letting Jadavion Clowney go to the Seahawks and then paying the Seahawks $7 million to let Clowney play out last season with them. Trading all those picks for Tunsil without giving him an extension or having an extension in place beforehand, and then paying Tunsil like 23, 24 million dollars a season, when in my mind, I feel like Ronnie Stanley was probably a better player. There's one or two other left tackles, Tyron Smith, that are better players. And just in general, letting DeAndre Hopkins go. And if you look at the value that the Vikings got for Stephon Diggs, the Texans didn't get close to that much value. And when you look at their games, and their kind of rankings right now, I would say DeAndre Hopkins is as good or better than Stephon Diggs. No slight to Diggs. I feel like he's a top 5, top 7 receiver. But to not get the value for DeAndre Hopkins and then to take on that big contract with David Johnson, he has to go. He has to go. You can just see where the Texans don't have the right leadership and the right attitude in place when they're playing these top tier teams in the AFC. And then when they lost to the Vikings this past weekend, it kind of was like the nail in the coffin from my standpoint. So closing this thing out, Sam, did you have any final thoughts that you wanted to share before we close this video out?
Couple of things. I really hope that whoever comes in to be the next head coach for Deshaun Watson really maximizes his full potential. And I also hope that whoever they put at GM, they need to get a financial analyst, consultant, or something to get these contracts, because it's probably a lot of dead money being wasted. So hopefully they get it together. Not better than the Ravens, of course, but I hope they get together. I'm rooting for Deshaun Watson. I really hope he does well, and we just see. And hopefully the Texans, they can get a win. But if the real question is, if they finish with the worst record in the league and they end up with the number one pick, and you just paid Deshaun Watson all this money, and Trevor Lawrence is there, what do you do?
That's a great point. That's a
Do you
great
trade
point.
it away? What do you do? And so we'll just see as the season goes along how the Texans go about it.
That's a great point, Sam. To close out for me, I really feel like the Texans are at a crossroads of the organization. You look at teams like the Titans, teams like the Colts, they're on the upswing. The Texans really, really, really have to make the right decision at coach and at general manager. Um, and I would even go a step farther and say I think it's imperative that they hire the general manager first, bring in somebody like Sam said that can get rid of some of those bad contracts, that can bring some structure to the organization, and that is a solid drafter. I think that their drafts haven't been very fulfilling the last year or two. So bring in a GM first and let the GM find the right head coach. Don't hire a head coach and then bring in the GM, because I just think that they're not gonna mesh. So hopefully the Texans can get it together. We're rooting for Deshaun. Both Sam and I are fans of Deshaun. Deshaun is actually been one of my favorite quarterbacks since Clemson, since college. So I really want to see him do well. Not as well as the Ravens, but I do want to see the Texans succeed. So that's all for the OPS crew today. We'll be back with our weekly NFL matchup picks for week 5. Got some good games on the slate. We out.